The SPC is extremely close. It was just fine-tuned to make it easier reading and providing additional approaches that could be used. The first SPC manual was strictly control charts, but with the second edition, there is included alternate techniques to evaluate the variation of your process or to control the variation. We have semi-variable sampling, we have probabilistic sampling, and so forth. So those are, in the second edition, it's really an expansion of possible techniques, although the primary focus is still on the control charts. Both of them did have definitions of your indices, the CP, CPK, PP, PPK, and a discussion on that. The MSA had more changes than the SPC. The initial MSA manual was based upon the paper by Traver. It's called the rubber ruler. It was in industrial quality control from ASQ, and it was the first use of the tabled form, which is, it turns out, a one-way analysis of variance, but using the ranges rather than the standard deviations. It also used, based upon that paper, it calculated the variation of the measurement system by taking 5.15 standard deviations. And so all the indices that were used in developing the paper or developing the form assumed that you had 5.15. By the time we got to the fourth edition, this was after Six Sigma started coming in and people started saying, why are we doing this 5.15? And the writing committee agreed, and so they originally were going to just put 6 standard deviations, which was the common approach, but we started saying, well, if we do 6 on a denominator, 6 in the numerator, we're just doing an extra multiplication. So the fourth edition just went with standard deviations and did the indices, the gauge R&R, the equipment, and the appraiser variation just by doing the standard deviation by standard deviation. Also, the latest version also has the another way of evaluating. It's the number of distinct categories, which kind of takes a look at and takes a histogram approach. If I'm going to be analyzing my process, how many divisions can I break that process into? Consequently, I should have at least 5, break it up into at least 5 pieces. Also, the latest edition also includes the emphasis on graphical techniques before you do the numerical techniques. The initial MSA just had numerical techniques. The last edition does have graphical techniques, as well as using the analysis of variance approach. Analysis of variance approach is a broader analysis approach because with the one-way analysis of variance, we just have the part-to-part variation and the appraiser variation. With the analysis of variance, we can also include other sources of variation if you want. So it tends to be a little bit more flexible. It also allows you to do the interaction between the parts and the appraiser. If you just do the default analysis of variance without getting fancy, the results of the X bar and R approach, which is the classic approach, the analysis of variance should be very close to each other. They're going to be a little bit different because one uses R bar over D2, the other one uses a pooled standard deviation. But other than that, the end result should be the same. In all, through all the versions, the indication of what is an acceptable gauge R&R has remained the same. There has been no change on that from the first edition to the fourth edition.